Hello and welcome to discussion today on Rajya Sabha TV. I am Tina Jha. On the show today, we are going to talk about the Uttarakhand tragedy. A natural disaster hit the Chamoli district of Uttarakhand on Sunday, leading to loss of lives as well as massive damage to property. Although the exact cause of the tragedy is yet to be known, it appears to have happened due to the breaking of a portion of the Nanda Devi glacier. Now, according to news reports, the breaking of the glacier triggered an avalanche and a deluge that rippled through the Alaknanda river system in the upper reaches of the Himalayas, washing away all that came its way. More than 200 people have gone missing since the tragedy. A majority of them were workers working at a power project site. Even as we speak, rescue work is being undertaken on war footing by multiple agencies, including the NDRF, SDRF, the Army, the Indian Air Force, as well as the ITBP. So what we will try and understand from experts on discussion today is what could have caused the disaster in Uttarakhand, whether such tragedies in the hill state could be an impact of climate change over the years, as is being claimed in several media reports, and also what can be done going forward to avert or lessen the damage caused by such disasters. So we are joined by two experts on the program. Let me introduce them to you. Dr. Rajiv Upadhyay, Professor Geodynamics, Himalayan Geology, Kumaon University, Nainital, and Dr. Surya Prakash. He is Head Geometeorological Risks Management Division, the NIDM. Welcome to both of you on this edition of discussion today on Rajya Sabha TV. Dr. Surya Prakash, let me begin the program today with you. So although, the real reasons behind what caused this unfortunate tragedy to happen is, of course, yet to be known. A team of scientists is on its way to ascertain the exact cause. But, going by reports and visuals of the tragedy that unfolded on Sunday, what appears to have happened? What do you understand could have happened that led to such a disaster?
Actually, this will be an estimation only based on what we have seen through the videos from the field.
Yes, absolutely.
But as you said, our team from SASE is already in the field and they will actually verify and validate the facts from there. So different opinions have come up. One of them is that a glacial part of the glacier has broken down and it has slided into the river and caused the flash flood in the Rishi Ganga river. But there are other opinions also, because there have been certain lakes in that area and those lakes may have also burst and they must have brought sediments along with the water into the Rishi Ganga river, which came down to the Dholi Ganga and then caused the damages. There is third opinion also which has come up. The third opinion is that there was a landslide which has happened in the upper parts of the Rani village, just near to the glacial region. And this actually landslide blocked the tributary for some time. And a lot of water got accumulated behind that transient landslide dam. And on this day, Sunday, it actually breached and then this flash flood has happened. So we have to actually verify and validate out of these three, which one is the correct one based on the field evidences.
Absolutely.
So sediments along with water do come when lake bursting take place, whether it is glacial lake outburst flood or landslide dammed lake outburst flood, or it is the glacial breaching itself, has to be actually verified, because still we don't have the exact images of that day till now.
Absolutely. So since nothing can be said with certainty at the moment, but Dr. Upadhyay, there are three possibilities that have been pointed out by Dr. Surya Prakash. One of them, which is being widely spoken of in the media, is the glacial outburst. So if this is the case that has happened, one theory is that this is an unusual phenomenon, especially because it's winter time and this is something very, very rare during this time of the year. But if we go by this argument, is there any evidence to prove that such disasters or such glacial movements do not occur in winter months? They occur otherwise in the rest of the year, but considering it's February, it is a rare phenomenon to have happened?
So I agree with what Dr. Prakash Gupta said, and there are three possibilities he has already talked about. And as far as your this saying is that in the month of February during winter, such type of phenomena is really takes place. I do agree to that as well, because during winter time the temperature drops down tremendously in these areas because they are the high altitude region, uh, beyond 5,000, 6,000, or 7,000 plus meter height, and most of this glaciated region in this particular part, because I have visited those regions in 2006 and 7. So most of the glaciers are the hanging glaciers, okay, in that behind the Nanda Devi peaks and all. But as far as glacial, this outburst is concerned, in a condition like hanging glacier, it can, break any time. There is not at all a case of winter or summer because it is, breaking along the gravity because they are not having any base and they have the overburden and the load. And there are lots of cracks or crevasses in that hanging glacier. If you have seen some pictures,
Yes.
so in this particular case of yesterday's, I agree to, third point about the landslide. Maybe, huge landslide might have triggered because the amount of muck or the silt or the boulder, that is coming in the river. This happens only during the time of summer melting, in the river. That is natural phenomena. If you go to Ladakh, you go to Shiok River, Nubra River, only muck is flowing, the whole day it is, glacier is melting till, 12 o'clock in the night. And the morning, you only see this muck is coming in these rivers. So in such a short, distance from where this, glaciated material breakdown along with, land, that means the landslide, that means a part of rock is covered up with huge amount of snow and ice. So snow is more because since October to till February, lots of fresh snow has been accumulated. Base may be having some solid ice, but the actual base is the rock. So because of that landslide, the whole rock mass might have break down, and lots of morenic material is around in these glaciated regions. So because of that, from a high altitude region, from a higher up areas, if such type of landslide occur, so lots of material will be mixed up with your snow, and the ice will automatically break down along with these boulders, these and that. So it will easily become water in that particular way, and possibility is also there, as Dr. Gupta has already said. Maybe during maybe 10 days, 15 days, or maybe a month time, a landslide had occurred in that particular area, and part of that tributary might have blocked, and the water might have stored in some amount, and at the same time another landslide might have occurred, maybe with rock falls and huge landslide, and that might have broken that particular temporary lake,
Yes.
which might have built within maybe 10 days, 15 days, or a month time or so.
That's right. So what
this is the
exactly
only
happened is
possibility.
something that we'll have to wait for till the group of scientists
that
go
is
there,
the
assess the
ground-
situation,
yeah,
and tell us
yeah,
the exact
that-
reason.
that is the-
But
yeah.
coming back to you, Dr. Surya Prakash, every time a tragedy strikes or a natural disaster occurs in Uttarakhand, climate change is one important reason stated behind such reasons. And, a research also published in the Journal of Glaciology states that Himalayan glaciers are being affected by climate change as the other glaciers of the mountain ranges of the world as well. But if by the year 2100, global emissions do not decrease, 2/3 of the Himalayan glaciers will melt. And this, of course, is a huge cause of concern.
Ma'am, what you are talking about is climate change impacts on the glaciers conditions,
Yes.
the accumulation and the dissipation of the mass. What happens that in our climate change studies, which has been also pointed by our international panel of climate change and various other forms at the international level in the climate change conventions as well, that average annual temperatures globally are said to be increasing. Being a geologist, and I hope Professor Ajib will also agree with me, we have been studying the Earth's climate since its origin. Paleoclimatic studies, which has not yet been included in some of the climate change studies that we are doing now. So what we see, these changes have been happening in the Earth's environment since historic times, since the Earth's origin. So there are various factors which can trigger the change and bring the change faster or slower. So one of the factors which is being said is pollution being caused by industries and transportation or other means by human interventions, which is actually accelerating the pace of the change in the climatic variabilities. So this climatic variabilities being persistent is now termed as climate change, and it no doubt is resulting into greater glacial melting,
Yes.
receding of the glaciers snouts, and also more discharge into the river systems, which may cause higher erosion along the banks or toe of the slopes, which can again cause landslides, flash floods, or other such hazards. So this particular event, if you talk about, I cannot outrightly say this is because of climate change or global warming, because that is spread over a region, not to a specific slope, or only restricted to a specific glacier.
Yes, not just
So-
this disaster, but the past incidents also that have taken place. Dr. Upadhyay, there have been, of course, concerns raised that climate change has increased the frequency of natural disasters in the Himalayan belt, especially in terms of flash floods, flooding in the Ganga plain. And let me, cite some examples, some incidents, some disasters that have taken place over the last few years. The Gangotri Glacier flash flood that happened in the year 2000, the Kedarnath flash flood in 2013, the Rapti River flooding that happened in 1998, and now this one that happened on Sunday. So looking, at the past incidents, the past tragedies as well, can we say that the climate change could have a role to play in the increasing frequency of such disasters in the hill state of Uttarakhand?
To some extent, I agree because Dr. Gupta's already, answered this question that global warming is a phenomena, in a global scale. Okay,
Yes,
that
of course.
our global temperature is rising since 1970s industrial revolution that we all know, and since we are having pollutants in the atmosphere, that is also an aspect which is alarmed us, and all governments, they are taking steps to reduce this carbon emission so that our temperature could not rise to that extent which are being predicted at alarming rate. But to some extent, if you are having winter snow cover, if winter precipitation is less, then it will definitely affect in this summer this melting, because during summer melting the water will be melted, but you are not adding during winter time. So if you are having frequent snow during winter, so a kind of balance will be maintained to some extent, that snow cover will be more during winter. So during summer, part of this fresh snow will melt. So glacier will, to not that much alarming rate, they will recede. So the studies are also suggesting in this particular part, like in Karakoram, there are glacier which are advancing. So glacier to glacier, this is a kind of different kind of data has been documented by scientists, and they have published some very good results. Within Himalaya, there are certain glaciers, they are advancing. But at the same time, some glaciers are receding. But if this is the case, we cannot correlate it with global warming. That is a regional, this is a local phenomenon. As Dr. Prakash said, this is a valley to valley, okay, a channel to channel, because this is a Rishi Ganga, it's a very small, narrow channel, coming out from, draining out from Nanda Devi group of peaks. There are n number of large glacier or smaller glacier. Most of the glaciers are hanging glacier.
Yes.
If it is a mountain, very high mountain, it is prone to, erode. It is prone to slide down someday or the other. Okay. So it's a long process. It's a earth processes. As Dr. Prakash said, in geology, we talk about 4.6 billion years to present. So there are n number of instances, prehistoric instances, when human being was not there. So, major disasters had happened, and that is already captured in rock record. That's what we study and we document, that how devastating natural hazards did occur during prehistoric time, because everything is printed in rock record. So this is a phenomenon in certain area where our habitat is affected, where our human civilization is affected, our man-made structure is affected. So that is there. And such type of, n number of cases, which I personally reported during my several visits in Karakoram. Karakoram is, most glaciated area after, polar region. So we have worked a lot in those areas, and we have seen, because nobody lives there. Only our, some army personnel, they are strategic area. But if you go across, this Karakoram mountain, without having any habitat, nature is playing with those mountains with ice and snow, and they are, carving this landscape in a different way.
Yes.
There is no man-made, a kind of interference in that particular natural environment.
Okay.
So this is natural.
So, Dr.
Yeah.
Surya Prakash, so these are natural disasters on which there is no human control. But what we can do is to have systems, early warning systems that can sort of, help avert or lessen at least the damage that these disasters cause. We see, especially in Uttarakhand, repeatedly after a few years, we hear of such disasters and unfortunate loss of lives as well. So what can be done in the short term as well as in the long run to first avert the crisis, and because obviously these are natural disasters we're talking about, to at least lessen the damage?
Let me first clarify you, these are not natural disasters, they are natural hazards. Disasters are because of human interventions. So our resources are at stake. So hazards, phenomena are natural.
Okay.
But disasters, they become when we interfere with the nature, and our interventions with the nature go adverse. So that causes the disasters. Now let me just briefly tell you that if you look into the Uttarakhand state that we are talking about, I remember very old disasters which had taken place even during British periods. 1894, when Gonatal, which got burst and caused lot of devastation in this Alaknanda Valley itself. Then 1970, Alaknanda floods. 1978, Bhagirathi floods. So Kanaudia Ghat floods in the 1978 actually caused lot of these fields cutting into sections. So we had a lot of them, and then we had the 2012 in Asiganga in Bhagirathi also. A similar incident had taken place at Asiganga River, where blockade took place, and at night the breaching took place, and in Uttarkashi, whole of the power project, they got devastated. And there were also laborers in the similar cases. And same cases we had also studied in Himachal Pradesh also, and J&K as well. So these instances have been reported times and again. But what is actually putting answer under the threat is our construction and developmental activities into those hazard-prone areas. So what we need to do is to become wiser in our practical actions in terms of construction developments and growth of population into those areas. So we should actually use hazard zonation maps, which has been prepared by our experts for different hazards. And as per our national disaster management policy, we have to follow a multi-hazard approach. You cannot make yourself safe just thinking about flash flood, landslide, earthquake, or any other such disaster. So Uttarakhand is prone to a number of disasters, and we have to consider all those disasters in an integrated manner and mainstream our development, considering those multi-hazards scenario. So where we actually lagged or failed was not due consideration to the existing surrounding geo-environment, which had actually been able to pose that threat and risk. So we constructed hydel projects, we constructed roads, we constructed bridges, we constructed buildings. And while doing so, even tunnels. So we had not considered what could be the potential risk, which actually DM experts are talking about, is that you should actually make risk assessment before undertaking any developmental activities, and also propose what are you going to do to prevent those risks, to avoid those risks, or to mitigate those risks. And in case you cannot do so, how will you prepare against those risks so that lives are not lost,
Certainly.
infrastructure is not affected?
Hmm.
So lot of things are required to be taken up, which we have been actually training and teaching on these subjects in disaster management, that we have to be proactive. And our DM policy and act also states that. And for that, the DM authorities have been established at all levels. So now the issue is the developmental agencies have to consider it mandatory for their developments to consider disaster risk reduction and resilience into their project activities. Second is their own project activities can become a cause for disasters. For example, you are storing a lot of water in the reservoirs at the dam sites, and that water, if the dam like this one which got failed, will cause subsequently floods on in the lower parts, in the downstream parts. So are we making adequate protective measures that in case it fails, then how will I avoid the impacts on the downstream population, structures, infrastructure? So these are not something new happening. They are well known. People in the hills are well experienced. And we have to practically change our attitude, which is also again emphasized in the policy on disaster management, that there is a need for cultural change.
Absolutely.
In terms of prevention, mitigation, and preparedness and efficient response, using our state-of-art technology and scientific knowledge. So
okay.
This will come
Dr.
up.
Upadhyay, so very, very valid points made by Dr. Surya Prakash. So when we speak of human intervention in the wake of such disasters, how can we strike a balance so that development and, of course, disaster risk reduction go hand in hand?
Yeah, I fully agree with Dr. Gupta, because he has very elaborative way, he has explained everything. To my addition, if you just recall one thing, in earlier times in hilly region, whether it is Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand or Nepal, people used to live on top of this mountain, hilltop mostly. Okay, and they used to get their drinking water and from deeper down from the river or maybe some springs. Okay, but these days, because Uttarakhand is a Devbhumi, or most of these streams are holy rivers and all. So because of this religious tourism purpose, lots of this developmental activities took place all along these river channels. And in catchment areas, if you are having such type of disaster which happened yesterday, then all along this river valley people will be affected, because this developmental activity took place in recent times, not in distant past. Because people, they have occupied the river bed as well.
Yes.
Okay, that is the area of river that can come to that place anytime. River can change its route as well. A few years back, you see in the case of Bihar, how this river Ghagra, or how they change their course, and this happened. This is a kind of geological processes. We all study these things. How these natural processes do happen, and how things are changing time and again. But this is a kind of academic and research interest. But if you implement it the ground, I think nobody is taking care of these fundamental aspects, which has already been there. So this is a very important aspect. If you if you want to develop an area in mountainous area, it's very good, because everywhere, you see throughout the globe, most of this, area is mountainous. If you go to Europe, all these countries are mountainous areas. In United States, the mountains are, huge mountains are there, each and every continent. But they have developed their, the areas. In Swiss Alps, they beautifully developed everything. And very rarely, they do also get these hazards, such type of hazards, but they are minimal, they are having this hazard management system is very effective in those countries.
Precisely, and
their
I think
planning is
we
very
need to
meticulous,
also work
according.
towards that. Dr. Prakash, you mentioned that such natural hazards, of course, continue to happen, and to that aspect, you mentioned some of them that happened in the 1970s. But these hazards turn into disasters, perhaps because there is loss of precious human lives, and that's where it becomes a huge cause of concern. Do you agree that, when there is human intervention, such disasters can be averted if there is enough space for the flow of water through the river valley, as what happened in Uttarakhand on Sunday? Such a disaster could have been averted. And also, now we are in 2021, where technology has eased our lives in multiple ways. So when we talk of mitigating crisis like this, what kind of scientific planning and management is required so that such hazards, such disasters do not take place in the future?
Ma'am, nature has blessed us with lot of resources, and without charging anything. Free air, free water, free land, free plantation, biodiversity. So rich is the culture of Uttarakhand. And that I sometimes feel that because I belong to Rajasthan, desertic area, and when I come to Uttarakhand, I see the beauty of the mountains with so much greenery and so huge water and everything else. So they are blessed with resources. However, we had to learn about to live in harmony with the nature, to live as a friend with the nature, to conserve the nature, to protect the nature, rather than confronting with the nature. So what we are actually doing is, through our developments, we confront, we cause damage to the nature. And ultimately, on one day, this nature reacts, ravages, and causes the damages. So I think whatever our developmental efforts are there, nature is never against that. That it also gives us ways. But then the right ways, at the right time, by the right people in the right manner.
That's right.
So, as Professor Upadhyay said, that other countries are doing so. They have a good scientific sound planning for doing all these developmental activities, considering the disaster risk reduction and resilience into the considerations. So therefore, I would suggest that we can go ahead for our comforts through the developmental activities, but learn to live within our reaches, our unlimited. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, that nature has given us enough for our needs, but not for our greeds. So what we are doing sometimes is going too much beyond our needs and going for the greeds. That okay, I need 4 lane, I need more space, I need bigger houses, I need restaurants with the river views. I need to actually break the glaciers places or occupy the river lands. And now if you occupy the river areas, and where will river go? And you want to confine them within a channel, which is not natural. Nature will actually follow its own pattern, like what Professor Upadhyay said, gravity. Gravity will always act downwards towards the center of the earth. It cannot act
Certainly,
other way around.
every time
And
such a
water will always
disaster
flow
strikes
from
us, we are forced to go back and think that, we need to and we must live in harmony with nature. Very rightly pointed out by both our panelists that, when we start confronting nature, we have to be prepared to face the nature's fury as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the program today and sharing your perspective with us. That's it from us on this edition of Discussion Today. We'll be back same time tomorrow, Ra, with another topic and a different set of panelists as well. Just in case you miss our television broadcast, you can also watch it online on YouTube, and you can send in your feedback and suggestions as well. Thank you for your time.